In the hyper-competitive world of modern dating, decoding male psychology often feels like trying to read a script written in an entirely foreign language. Men are famously conditioned to keep their cards close to their chest, masking their truest emotions behind a wall of casual banter, stoic silences, and laid-back indifference. This emotional guard leaves countless women stuck in a frustrating loop of overanalyzing mixed signals, rereading text messages like detective case files, and wondering where they actually stand. But here is the ultimate psychological truth that changes the entire game. While a man can easily control the words coming out of his mouth, he has almost zero control over his autonomic nervous system. When a man is genuinely, deeply, and seriously into you, his brain undergoes a massive chemical shift that completely rewires his physical behavior, exposing his true feelings through an undeniable trail of subconscious microsignals. The human body is an incredibly honest canvas, and attraction operates like an invisible current of electricity that must find a way to escape. Long before a man gathers the courage to vocalize his feelings, his biology has already given him away. It shows up in the split-second lift of his brow when you enter a room, the precise angle of his feet under a restaurant table, the sudden drop in the pitch of his voice, and the way he instinctively clears physical barriers just to be a fraction of an inch closer to your universe. These aren't just random, isolated quirks. They are ancient evolutionary tells rooted deeply in human biology, designed to signal comfort, safety, and a desperate desire for a profound connection. When you know exactly what to look for, the guesswork completely vanishes, replaced by a crystal-clear roadmap of his heart. This deep-dive guide pulls back the curtain on male behavioral psychology to reveal the 15 subtle, high-value things a man does when he is completely captivated by you. We are skipping the obvious, surface-level signs and diving straight into the raw, involuntary body language shifts and behavioral patterns that a man simply cannot fake. If you have been searching for definitive clarity, peace of mind, or proof that his feelings match yours, pay close attention to these signals. Once you learn how to read these hidden shifts in his posture, gaze, and daily habits, you will never have to guess his true intentions ever again. Here is exactly how a man non-verbally declares that he is seriously, undeniably into you. 1. The persistent eyebrow raise, the flash. The eyebrow flash is one of the most deeply cross-cultural, biologically hardwired human expressions of recognition and interest. When a man is seriously into you, his brain instantly registers your presence as a highly positive stimulus. This realization triggers a split-second, involuntary micro-expression where his eyebrows arch upward, opening his eyes wider. While a standard social greeting involves a fleeting flash that lasts less than a fifth of a second, a man who is romantically compelled by you will exhibit a more persistent version of this gesture. His eyes remain wider for just a fraction longer because his autonomic nervous system is trying to take in as much visual data about you as possible. From an evolutionary standpoint, this microbehavior serves a dual purpose. First, it maximizes his field of vision, ensuring he doesn't miss a single detail of your expressions or movements. Second, it non-verbally signals that he is non-threatening and completely open to interaction. When his eyebrows lift, it pulls his face into a more inviting, approachable alignment. You will notice this happening the exact moment you walk into a room, transition into his direct line of sight, or say something that genuinely surprises or delights him. It is a completely unscripted physical reaction that occurs long before his conscious mind can formulate a smooth greeting. If you look closely during the initial seconds of an encounter, this subtle facial lift serves as an undeniable neurological green light, proving that his focus has completely locked onto you. 2. Unconscious mirroring of your posture. Mirroring is the ultimate physiological manifestation of rapport, comfort, and deep psychological alignment. When a man is intensely focused on you and desires to build a profound connection, his brain's mirror neuron system activates on a massive scale. Without a single conscious thought, he will begin to copy your physical posture, gestures, and overall energy levels. If you lean back and cross your legs, a few moments later he will subtly shift his weight to match that exact stance. If you rest your chin on your hand or take a sip of your drink, you will frequently notice him executing a nearly identical movement just seconds later. This behavioral mimicry is rooted in an ancient evolutionary drive to signal safety and tribal belonging. It is nature's way of saying, "I am like you, and I understand you." In a romantic context, it indicates that he is totally dialed into your emotional frequency. He is so utterly absorbed in your presence that his own body has abandoned its independent rhythm to fall into perfect sync with yours. This creates a powerful, unseen feedback loop of mutual comfort. He isn't doing this intentionally to manipulate your perception. Rather, his subconscious mind is desperately trying to establish a harmonious bond. Pay close attention to the pacing of your interactions. When a man matches your physical cadence, it is a definitive sign that he is emotionally invested and completely captivated by your presence. 3. He leans in when you speak lower. Proximity is a direct currency of attraction, and the way a man manages physical space tells a massive story about his hidden intentions. When a man is genuinely into you, he will consistently violate his own comfort boundaries to pull his upper body closer to yours. This behavior becomes incredibly pronounced when you lower your voice or speak in a softer, more intimate tone. Instead of asking you to speak up or remaining comfortably upright, his immediate, instinctual reaction will be to tilt his head and lean his entire torso forward into your personal space. This movement serves multiple psychological and biological functions. First, it allows him to isolate your voice from any ambient background noise, shutting out the rest of the world to make your conversation feel like an exclusive two-person ecosystem. Second, it exposes the highly sensitive areas of his neck and ears, which is an evolutionary sign of trust and vulnerability. By leaning in close, he is also testing your comfort levels with his physical proximity. If you stay put or lean in to meet him, it confirms a mutual vibe. This specific tell is a brilliant indicator of serious interest because it requires him to abandon a neutral, comfortable resting posture in favor of a deliberate, active physical pursuit of your words. He wants to catch every single syllable, inflection, and breath, treating your voice like the most important sound in the room. For the triangle eye movement, eyes to lips shift. The triangle gaze is one of the most reliable and classic indicators of intense romantic and physical attraction. When a man views someone strictly as a friend or an acquaintance, his eyes will generally move in a horizontal line across the other person's eyes, occasionally dipping down to the nose. However, when his feelings transition into serious romantic interest, his gaze maps out a distinct downward triangle. He will look into your left eye, drop his gaze down to your lips, shift over to your right eye, and then cycle back up. This microfixation on your mouth happens rapidly, often lasting only a split second, but it occurs repeatedly throughout a conversation. This specific visual pattern is driven by a subconscious desire for intimacy. When he looks at your lips, his brain is actively processing a romantic connection, often lingering on the idea of kissing you or simply admiring the mechanics of your smile. It is an incredibly difficult tell to fake because eye tracking is completely governed by immediate emotional impulses. You will notice this triangle shift happening when there is a brief lull in the conversation, when you are laughing, or when the emotional intensity of the moment spikes. If you find his eyes dropping down to your mouth and then quickly snapping back up to lock onto your gaze with an added intensity, he is fighting a very real, very powerful attraction to you. 5. Frontal alignment, torso, and feet pointed at you. Body language experts frequently look at the lower half of the body to find the absolute truth about a person's intentions, because we're generally much better at controlling our facial expressions than our feet and torso. When a man is seriously into you, he will exhibit a phenomenon known as total frontal alignment. No matter how busy, crowded, or distracting the environment is, his belly button, chest, and toes will be pointed directly toward you. Even if he is turned to talk to someone else on his left, If his feet remain anchored in your direction, you still hold his primary attention. This alignment is an evolutionary indicator of absolute commitment to an interaction. By pointing his entire body toward you, he is blocking out potential distractions and declaring that you are the focal point of his current universe. Conversely, if a man's torso or feet are angled toward an exit or toward another group of people, his mind is already checked out. When he squares his shoulders and aligns his body with yours, he is unconsciously maximizing his exposure to you, making himself fully available for engagement. It is a powerful structural tell that reveals where his true interest lies, showing that his physical framework is entirely dedicated to maintaining a connection with you. 6. He remembers the micro details of past chats. When a man is deeply infatuated, his brain undergoes a massive chemical surge of dopamine and norepinephrine, which drastically sharpens his focus and enhances his memory retention. As a direct result, he turns into an absolute sponge for any information you share. He won't just remember the big details like your job title or your birthday. He will recall the tiny, obscure micro details that you mentioned casually weeks ago, like the specific name of your childhood pet, how you take your coffee on a rainy day, or an offhand comment about a book you've been meaning to read. This level of active cognitive retention is a massive differentiator between casual politeness and serious investment. A man who is just passing time will nod along and forget the nuances of your life almost immediately. But a man who is falling for you treats every piece of data you give him like absolute gold. He stores these details away because he is genuinely fascinated by your internal world and wants to understand what makes you tick. When he brings up these tiny details later or surprises you with a specific gesture based on old conversation, it proves that he doesn't just hear you when you speak. He is actively, deeply listening and processing your words long after the interaction has ended. 7. Protective space management in crowds. When a man develops serious feelings for you, his natural, ancient protective instincts are instantly triggered. This doesn't mean he becomes aggressive or overly possessive. Rather, it manifests as subtle, high-value space management when you are moving through crowded or chaotic environments. If you are walking through a dense crowd, navigating a busy street, or entering a packed venue, you will notice him positioning his body as a buffer between you and the chaos. He might step slightly ahead of you to clear a physical path, or position himself on the traffic-exposed side of the sidewalk. This behavior is entirely subconscious and deeply rooted in the evolutionary drive to shield a valued partner from discomfort or external hazards. Watch how he places his hands or shifts his weight when someone bumps past you. He will instinctively widen his stance or place a protective, non-invasive hand near your back to anchor you. He wants to ensure you feel entirely safe, secure, and comfortable in his presence. By managing the physical space around you, he is non-verbally demonstrating that he is capable of looking out for you and that your physical well-being is a top priority in his mind. 8. Prolonged eye contact followed by a subtle smile. Eye contact is one of the most potent tools of human intimacy, but the specific cadence of how a man looks at you can reveal the depth of his emotional interest. When a man is seriously into you, his eye contact will extend just past the boundaries of standard social norms. He will hold your gaze for an extra beat or two, lingering on your eyes during moments of silence or across a room. The defining characteristic of this tell, however, is what happens right at the end of that gaze. A slow, soft, completely authentic smile that pulls at the corners of his mouth and crinkles his eyes. This prolonged look followed by a smile indicates a transition from purely analytical observation to deep emotional appreciation. He isn't just looking at you to gather information. He is looking at you because he genuinely enjoys what he sees and feels a surge of warmth. The subtle smile is an involuntary release of that positive emotional tension. It signals complete vulnerability and a drop of his social guard. If his eye contact feels deliberate, steady, and breaks away with a genuine, warm expression rather than a nervous, darting glance, it is a clear sign that looking at you brings him immense joy. 9. He removes physical barriers between you, moving glasses/bags. When we feel uncomfortable or closed off around someone, We unconsciously build walls using whatever objects are nearby. We hold cushions, cross our arms, or leave menus and glasses directly between ourselves and the other person to create a psychological safety barrier. Conversely, when a man is highly attracted to you and wants to foster a deep, unobstructed connection, he will systematically and completely clear the physical space between you. Watch his behavior closely when you sit down across from him at a table. If there's a salt shaker, a candle, a water bottle, or a large menu blocking his direct line of sight to you, he will casually and purposefully slide those items to the side. If he has a bag or a jacket, he will place it away from the space between you rather than piling it up on the table or the seat next to him. This action is a physical manifestation of his desire for absolute emotional clarity and openness. He wants zero obstacles, zero clutter, and zero distractions standing in the way of your interaction. By creating an open, clear pathway between your bodies, his subconscious is declaring that he is completely ready to receive you without any barriers. 10. The vocal pitch shift, lowering his tone. A man's voice is heavily regulated by his hormonal state and his underlying emotional intentions. When a man is interacting with a woman he is seriously into, his vocal cords will unconsciously relax, causing his pitch to drop to a lower, deeper, and more resonant register. This physiological shift is driven by a subconscious surge of testosterone and an instinctual drive to project maturity, stability, and masculinity. This vocal deepness is typically accompanied by a slower cadence of speech and a softer volume. He isn't boisterous or loud. Instead, his voice takes on an intimate, confidential quality, almost as if everything he says is a special secret meant exclusively for your ears. This serves a brilliant evolutionary purpose. It forces you to step closer to hear him, creating an immediate increase in physical proximity. If you notice that his tone of voice when speaking to his friends or colleagues is noticeably higher, louder, or more animated, but instantly softens and deepens the moment he turns to speak directly to you, he is unconsciously entering a romantic courtship mode designed to soothe you and spark attraction. 11. Nervous grooming behaviors, fixing hair or clothes. Even the most confident, alpha male will experience a distinct spike in adrenaline and nervous energy when he is around a woman who truly matters to him. Because he cares immensely about your perception of him, his brain forces him to become hyper-aware of his own physical appearance. This internal tension spills over into outward, unconscious grooming behaviors the second you come into view. You will see him constantly smoothing down his shirt, adjusting his collar, fixing his tie, running his fingers through his hair, or checking his watch. These actions are known as displacement behaviors, physical rituals used to channel and release excess nervous energy. He wants to look absolutely pristine for you, and his body is reacting to the intense desire to make a stellar impression. Pay attention to what he does the moment he thinks you aren't looking or right as he walks up to greet you. If he is constantly adjusting his wardrobe or fixing his appearance, it is a magnificent sign that you give him butterflies and that his feelings for you are significant enough to make him break a sweat. 12. Quick response times and continuous threads. In our modern, hyper-distracted digital world, time and attention are the ultimate resources. A man who is casually interested will treat your digital communication as a low-priority task, often leaving you on read or responding with dry, lazy answers hours later. However, when a man is seriously into you, his texting and calling habits will shift into overdrive. He will consistently maintain quick response times, rarely letting your messages sit without a prompt, thoughtful reply. More importantly, he will actively keep the conversation threads alive. He won't just send one-word answers. He will ask open-ended questions, share interesting media, send detailed paragraphs, and use language that invites further discussion. He does this because he genuinely fears the conversation dying out. He wants to remain a constant, seamless part of your daily routine. By prioritizing your messages above the daily noise of his life, he is making a conscious choice to carve out premium real estate for you in his schedule, proving that keeping a line of communication open with you is a high-priority highlight of his day. 13. High-value introductions to his inner circle. A man's social circle is his sanctuary. His close friends, family, and trusted colleagues represent his core identity and his safe space. When a man is just playing games or exploring a casual connection, he will keep that world completely compartmentalized, ensuring you never cross paths with the people who know him best. But when he is seriously into you, he will look for opportunities to integrate you into his inner circle as quickly and smoothly as possible. When he introduces you to his best friends or family members, watch his demeanor very carefully. He won't just introduce you casually as an afterthought. He will present you with immense pride, ensuring you are highly valued in the introduction. He will highlight your achievements, tell them how amazing you are, and do everything in his power to make sure you feel completely comfortable, welcome, and respected. This behavior is a massive psychological step. By bringing you into his inner sanctum, he is seeking validation from the people he respects most, while simultaneously signaling to the world that he wants you to be a permanent, deeply rooted fixture in his life. 14. Casual, non-invasive touch, the elbow or lower back guide. Physical touch is the ultimate bridge builder in romantic relationships, and a man who is serious about you will use touch with immense respect, precision, and care. He will avoid anything overtly aggressive, opting instead for casual, non-invasive micro-touches that are designed to build comfort and gauge your physical receptivity. This often manifests as a light touch on your elbow to guide you through a doorway, a brief pat on the shoulder when you laugh, or a gentle, reassuring hand on your lower back as you walk together into a crowded room. These specific zones, the elbow, the upper arm, and the middle of the back, are considered non-threatening, high-value transition areas for touch. By using these gentle gestures, his subconscious mind is attempting to break the physical touch barrier while keeping your comfort and safety fully intact. He is testing the waters to see how your body responds to his presence. If you lean into his touch or relax your shoulders, it gives him the psychological validation he needs to keep moving forward. It is a beautiful, respectful dance of physical escalation that shows he values your boundaries just as much as he desires your closeness. 15. The hero instinct activation, seeking your validation. At the absolute core of male psychology lies a powerful biological drive known as the hero instinct. Men have an innate, deeply ingrained desire to feel needed, appreciated, and essential to the lives of the people they deeply care about. When a man is seriously falling for you, this instinct will switch on entirely in your presence. He will go out of his way to offer his help, fix things for you, give advice on problems you are facing, or step up to handle logistical challenges for you. Crucially, notice how he reacts after he helps you. He will actively look to you for validation and approval. He wants to see that flash of appreciation in your eyes and hear you say that he did a great job. He isn't doing this to brag or feed a toxic ego. Rather, his emotional investment makes him desperate to prove his value to you as a competent, reliable, and protective partner. He wants to be your go-to person, your reliable rock, and your ultimate problem solver. When a man consistently steps up to make your life easier and looks to you for a smile of appreciation, his heart is completely locked in.